Good evening, everyone. Hope you're well. Welcome to another edition of the Anytime Notebook. Another week passes by without backing a winner. Just put some poor decision making. I think last weekend we said enough about James Veselowski. And how he kept on popping up at the edge of the box with that number 4 shirt on. He duly went and scored, unbacked by me, which is a crying shame. At around 8-1, we think we put up Gary Harkin instead in that game, who had a decent game. But didn't get on the score sheet. Never nice backing losers, obviously, is it? No one wants to back losers. But yeah, I've got used to it, I think, over the last few years. Just bad decision making is hard to take, and yeah, knowing that you maybe picked one out at a decent price and then letting him go unbacked is a crying shame. We shall move on though to this weekend in what looks a pretty decent coupon in the Football League. Rochdale looked the pick of the bunch to me, a really big price, 11-8. So go to a Mansfield side who are on a decent little run, beating in their last 5, but kind of some scrappy games. I think last time out, a couple of wins against Morecambe and Wimbledon, a scrappy game against Morecambe, which saw a few hefty challenges. One kind of that battle, we think that's what we can call it, and we're equally scrappy against Wimbledon as well. I think this Rochdale game represents a bit of a step up in class for Mansfield at the moment. For Rochdale then, I think Keith Hill said something really interesting after they drew 0-0 with Fleetwood a couple of weeks back. He says, just important we don't get beat against these sides in and around us, and such was the case at Fleetwood, and I guess such was the case, you could argue, at York as well, where they had a second 0-0 draw last weekend. Like I said, I think still top of the league, but this is one of those games I think they'll definitely be looking to go and win. I'm going to put Jamie Allen here, who's a player that I like. I think when you think of Rochdale, probably Scott Hogan takes all the plaudits, but I've seen Rochdale a couple of times this year, probably yet to be convinced actually by the top of the league, but not kind of my idea of a team that I could have had winning the division a couple of months ago, definitely, but there they are, which probably tells you more about my judgment, I suppose. But yeah, Jamie Allen, I've seen him a couple of times. A player that I really like, won the League Two Player of the Month last month in March. A good player, busy little player, kind of ferocious, tenacious, all of those adjectives that you can use about someone who's young and kind of looks like he's got getting a good grasp of the game. Certainly can ply his trade in a high level. Keith Hill thinks highly of him, which is testament enough to him. What I liked about him is he gets the ball down, instantly looks positive. Every time he gets the ball, he looks to go forward. Gets a few shots off on target as well. Scored 6 goals in 24 appearances, which is a really good return for his kind of first full season. 11-2, he goes off kind of a much bigger price, much more attractive price than I guess someone like Scott Hogan or George Donnelly, who probably normally everyone has on their list. So he's taking a bit of a chance, but I think Rochdale go well at Mansfield, and I think Jamie Allen is a decent price as well. We'll stay in League Two then. Jamal Loza has made a good start on loan from Norwich for Southend, who have picked up nicely, haven't they? I think after some uneasy moments in the last few months, kind of managed to keep those kind of chasing playoff teams at bay. I think they brought in John Egan from Sunderland, a lad called Sokolik as well from Liverpool. They're earning rave reviews, and they're both a new centre back pairing. 4 clean sheets in their last 5, I think, is testament to how well they're playing. Phil Brown's sides are going to be kind of well prepared mentally and physically around about this time of the season, so I think we can expect them to be quite a force in the playoffs should they make it. They're playing Wimbledon at home, which is I guess exactly the time you want to play Wimbledon. They're in a bad run of form, and if late goals over the past month hadn't have gone their way, then they could have been in even worse form. I think just 5 or 6 points in front of the relegation zone. So what was interesting about this, I know Barry Corr come back last weekend after his suspension, and Lee Barnard had been in the side since Corr was absent. I think you've got kind of Barry Corr, Lee Barnard and Freddie Eastwood all going off at a shorter price than Loza. They're all going off kind of, you can back them all at kind of 7-4 mark. I think it's Loza plus one other. Like I say, Corr come back last weekend and he scored, but I think it's one of the others that makes way. So I think it's Loza and one other. So I think at 11-5, he more than makes sense. Thinking that either one of the other 3 probably not gonna start. So yeah, Jamal Loza, who's like I say on loan from Norwich, scored 1 in 4, but has got all the pace and trickery in the world and should cause enough problems for that Wimbledon back 4. We'll add him at 11-5, and then we'll head up into League One, Notts County. ran into a really good Brentford side last weekend. Won't need to say anything more about Brentford, but that was their only defeat in 4. They picked up 3 wins on the bounce before that. Their home record, I think, is what's going to keep them up this year. Won 5 of their last 9 since the start of since the turn of the year. Been sticking a few goals away. So it's a side that has got a lot of attacking ability. You think of Jack Grealish, you think of who's the lad from Scotland, Callum McGregor. Actually, I don't think he kind of started many games recently, but Jamal Campbell-Rice, still provides a good attacking outlet. And Ronan Murray as well. I'm going to stick up here. I think we forget that Sean Derry is he's looked old for ages. He's had grey hair as long as I can remember, but still young in terms of management and still learning his way. He might have just have panicked last week after they went down. I think they went down a goal at Brentford, and they had the lad Hollis, was it? I think the lad Hollis was sent off, and he took off Ronan Murray after half an hour, and I just wonder whether, on reflection, that might have been the best decision. Murray was in really decent form, scored 5 in his last 4. I think he could make amends this weekend. They host a Port Vale side who Mickey Adams already talked in the paper today about kind of making a few changes. I think Notts County are a good bet. Vale, I think they haven't won away in their last 10. Like I said, despite the fact that always averse to just siding with a side just because their need to win is greater, I still think Notts County would have been a decent bet regardless of what Port Vale's situation was. So Notts County makes sense at odds against. Ronan Murray makes good sense at around about 13-8 as well. So we'll add him as the last leg of the treble. So Ronan Murray for Notts County, Jamie Allen for Rochdale, and Jamal Loza for Southend. Nothing much else on the radar this weekend. I think it could be worth opposing York. Their attacking intent seems to have gone right down since Josh Carson and Wes Fletcher have been ruled out for the rest of the season. I refuse to believe that Accrington are as bad as they were at Northampton last weekend. So over 2-1 for the draw, no better away at York, who are struggling for goals. Looks probably the only pick, but if you're looking for goal scorers, that's probably not going to be your best starting point. So we stick with the others. Whatever you're backing this weekend, have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you on the other side when hopefully I might be in a little bit of a better mood.